Hello, El Dorado County. I'm Gary Kinghorn, the grand jury foreman for El Dorado County for the 24-25 term. And now that it's June, spring is turning into summer, the school is out, and it's time for the grand jury to issue our final report for the year. This final report, about 240 pages, consists of the 10 reports that the civil grand jury released throughout the course of the last 12 months. And it was quite an accomplishment by the 19 jurors that we impaneled that dedicated their time this year to these deep investigations. I hope you have a chance to take a look at the report. I'm going to be putting the links and there may be a QR code so you can find the report for easy download. But it's well worthy of your time to understand what we've been researching and the changes that we're recommending that the county has made over these last 12 months in these 10 reports. So we started out the year with a follow-up investigation from the prior year into election integrity. We took a deeper dive into the voter roll management and who was getting ballots and how those voter rolls were updated and managed in the elections department. And overall, we know that election integrity is kind of a hot button issue, but we found that the elections department here in El Dorado County is doing a great job. We made some recommendations about how they could do things a little more efficiently, but overall we found that the work that they were doing was worthy of commendation. Another report that we did, we profiled the high-tech crimes unit in the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. And we learned about the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force and how they coordinate with a larger regional ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and the tools that they have at their disposal to hunt down child predators within the county here. Child trafficking is probably much more of a problem than we'd like to admit, even here in our county. And the high-tech crime unit is also doing a great job. We did make some recommendations about some additional resources that they should consider. And that was a great learning experience for us to find out how on top of this situation that the Sheriff's Office and their high-tech crime unit deputies and detectives are. The next report that we did was on the Department of Transportation Road Maintenance Department. We get periodic complaints about the condition of our roads throughout the county. We did take a deep dive into the road maintenance issue, and the primary thing that we focused on was how they handled complaints, how they prioritized them, and how they communicated back out to the public the status of those complaints and the repairs. We found that the public was just left in the dark a little bit about the status of the complaints that they did file. Most of the people didn't know where to file complaints or how those prioritizations were set within the Department of Transportation once a complaint was made. We did uncover some software issues that the Department of Transportation had and made some recommendations there about how to improve that situation and engage better with the public. One of the largest reports that we did, and we think one of the most impactful, was looking at the county IT operation. In the end of 2024, the director of IT within the county here left the county, and there was an opportunity to improve how the department functioned and how it was managed. We had a very deep knowledge base here within the grand jury on IT operations and people coming from high-tech and IT backgrounds on the grand jury. So we took the opportunity to make some recommendations about how the next hire should be conducted, maybe expanding the job description a little bit and making it much more of a cost-focused and strategic operational manager for the ID department, rather than just focusing on the tech responsibilities. And it turns out that most of the counties in California, over 80%, have what's called a Chief Information Officer, or a CIO. And we made that recommendation that a CIO is probably appropriate for El Dorado County here. And instead of just continuing with another IT director title or level of person. So the good news is that the county has, in their response back to the grand jury, appears to have accepted all of our recommendations, and in time should be implementing most of those, pending maybe some further analysis. It looks like their target for hiring this new CIO, or this more strategic person within the IT department, and that can coordinate better with the sheriff and the district attorney IT operations, will be made by the end of this year, 2025. So we think that's a huge step forward, and I would encourage everybody that's interested in how the county functions from a technology standpoint and how it's implementing and deploying technology to take a look at that report. We did another deep dive into the 9/11 central dispatch, 911 central dispatch operations within the sheriff's department, and how that team was responding. And we also found they were doing a great job, delivering a great deal of service, well managed within the sheriff's department, but they have had problems in the very recent past with staffing and with requiring overtime of the people in order to deliver the full service. And it was probably more expensive because they were pulling in deputies, sheriff deputies, to man the 911 call center operations at a more expensive rate. So we took a look at the salary requirements and expectations, not only here within the county, but in other regional 911 central dispatch operations that people left the county to tend to go to, and made some recommendations about how to use different metrics in order to determine salary rates and make sure we didn't have the turnover of people leaving the 911 central dispatch operations as much as they were. So good news is that those considerations are being implemented. Further discussions with the labor union for the dispatch operators is ongoing, and hope to see some improvements there. And in the meantime, they have improved the staffing within the dispatch organization, so it appears that there was going to be less overtime and stress on the employees that were working there. Another report that we did was on some staffing challenges in Health and Human Services Agency relative to Medi-Cal support operations. Medi-Cal claims and enrollment is managed through the county, and they were also losing people to neighboring Medi-Cal support organizations. There tends to be, and this was a recurring theme that we found this year, that El Dorado County is on the lower end by design of pay scales for different functions, or for many functions. The thinking is that we want to save money there, and that people often come here or start here in the county, get trained on a particular role, and then will leave the county to go to a neighboring county or to another similar organization for a higher rate of pay. So we hear that in different job functions. We tried to get to the bottom of it to see if it's myth or reality, and made some recommendations there relative to these Medi-Cal support staff, which is a fairly difficult job. It requires several months of training, and it's not something you can just drop new hires into. So it is a job that needs to be considered there for retention and to deliver the full service that needs to be done by the county. So anyway, we made some recommendations there, and we trust those are being implemented. We also, during the course of the year, inspected, as required by the grand juries in each county, to look at our detention facilities. So we did our annual inspection of the Placerville and South Lake Tahoe jails, as well as the Juvenile Treatment Center in South Lake Tahoe, and found those all to be in excellent shape. We did have some minor recommendations, just delivering our outside perspective, and we delivered the full detailed report to the Sheriff Department and to the Probation Department. Again, we found all of those facilities in good order. And one of the most complicated and deep dive reports that the grand jury has done in quite a while was on the El Dorado Irrigation District and some of the financial issues that they've been facing, as called out in their most recent annual audit, and some things that we found that were not quite up to expectations. So that report, I think, is very important for people to understand kind of the financial situation of EID, how it impacts rates going forward, and some of the considerations and trade-offs that they've had to make in order to manage their capital improvements, their capacity improvements, and how their financials impact all of those situations, and even how they're handling their pension obligations going forward. So since that report was issued, there's been quite a bit of change in EID. Their financial director has left the organization. They brought in a new GM. I think that was somewhat planned, but may have been impacted by the nature of this report. And they've also brought in a new audit firm that's going to be looking at the issues that the grand jury raised and hoping to improve their financial reporting going forward with more clarity and more transparency. So again, a very, very interesting report if you're interested in that. And then we wrap up the year with a continuity and compliance report where we look back at the responses that came in from prior year's reports and how recommendations had been implemented or not implemented in some cases over the course of this last year. And then that's put into the end of this final report. So again, this has been a great experience for all 19 grand jurors that were part of this year's grand jury. I've been the foreperson for the last 2 years, and it's been one of the great experiences of my life to help the county out, to learn as much as we have about all these individual organizations, and hopefully have the impact that these reports call for, and we hope to see in the near future. But I cannot stress enough how important it is for the public to support their grand jury and bring in complaints as you see them. Help us understand what concerns you have. We are really a public oversight or public watchdog organization. We need your support to understand what your concerns are and what should be investigated by the grand jury in depth, and read the reports and hold the government accountable after we're gone. They're going to need, again, the public to follow up on these issues and make sure that the recommendations are complete and that they follow through on their responses to the grand jury reports. So again, thank you, El Dorado County. Support your grand jury, and when you have time, take a look at the final report that we're issuing this month.